Hello everyone, welcome to another video. If you're new here, I am Emily, otherwise known as Shamanism. You can call me pretty much anything, just don't call me late for dinner. Welcome. And if you're an OG returning, welcome back. Namaste, hi, much love and thank you for being here. What I wanted to talk about today is a super duper duper duper, uber duper duper, whatever, very, very important subject in life. And it is one which it took me, sincerely, it took me a long time to how do I say this? Understand it on a real level. Like sometimes we hear things like, let's say the golden rule, just as an example. We say, treat other people like you would like to be treated. And we hear that over and over and over. What I want to talk about here is sort of twofold, but mostly the one theme of that, which is that one thing that you may know by now is, if you're familiar at all with affirmations or mantras even, is that, well, firstly, let me say that the theme of this is the power of words, and you might scoff at that, you might not if you know, I was going to say better, but it's not better, it's just if you're more awakened and you've come across this information, perhaps like me. At any rate, the subject of the video is the power of words, because, now I don't know if you all have seen the movie Inception. I think probably a lot of us have, but if you haven't, I'm trying to think if there's any way I can talk about it without spoiling it for you. Maybe if you haven't seen the movie, skip this section because I'm going to talk a little bit about Inception for just a minute. Well, I'll warn you before I talk about the spoiler, and before that, I'm going to try to talk about it anyway. So, let me put it this way. If you're afraid of any potential spoilers, if you haven't seen Inception yet, just skip ahead. I'll insert a time stamp for when I stop talking about it. And then if you don't have any concerns about that, you can keep listening. So basically, the reason that I wanted to make this video was because I was reading a book, which actually I have right there, which you're gonna laugh at me for the amount of tabs, but I was reading a book about this, which I'm gonna do a whole other video about, so don't worry, this is coming soon. This, by the way, is an incredible book, but tangent for another time. As I was reading that book, the author brings up a really important point, and that's a really great book, by the way. Like, genuinely, I will do a whole video about it because it's, in my opinion, if anyone ever asked me to distill my life books that I've read and stuff down to two impactful books that I thought everyone should read no matter who they are, where they are ever in life, there are two books. And this one is one of them that I would suggest reading, The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And the other one is One Straw Revolution by, oh, I hope I don't butcher the pronunciation of his name, but by Masanobu Fukuoka. I hope I didn't butcher it, but I will put pictures of the two books in here so that if you guys want to go read them, you can. Sincerely, if you ever asked me to distill, like, my book wisdom or whatever, like, good books that people absolutely should read, those are the two. And I'll tell you what's interesting about that fact. I wouldn't have thought, I'd ever recommend books because I never used to read much. I didn't really like reading. And two, what's so interesting to me is that actually these two books I'm recommending to you, like this one in particular, this is, guys, look at this. It's not that thick. It's like a one-day read. Literally. So, and both of them, that's what I was going to say is so interesting about both of these books that I'm suggesting, actually. Both this one and One Straw Revolution, which I think I have on my bookshelf over there somewhere, are both about this thick. So they're literally one-day reads. And for the record, guys, I am not a fast reader, like, for context. My mother literally reads, like, a book a day. And when I say a book, I don't mean a book like this. I mean a book like that. My mother. I don't read like that. I will tell you right now. She's an English lit major. No. Anyway, so what I wanted to share was, while I was reading that book, one of the most important subjects I think that he touches on in that book is the power of words. And something, this is where it ties into Inception. So if you want to tune out about Inception, do so now. If you've seen Inception, then you know that one of the primary ideas in that movie is essentially that an idea in general seeded into our subconscious can become this whole thing. It's kind of what they work with in Inception. Now, why am I talking about that here? What's crazy is words have that exact, I had a realization, like a huge aha moment the other day, that that's the way words really work. That movie gives, honestly, one of the most excellent examples I can think of the power that words can truly and sincerely have in life. The funny thing is that, as usual, these like messages were brought through the media. So for most part, like the general public at large, right, isn't distilling these messages down. So it only kind of dawned on me when I was reading the Four Agreements and he was speaking about the power of words that I went, oh my goodness, that's so exactly how words work. So what I'm talking about is this. And if you're coming back from the Inception rant, welcome back. So what I want to make this video about, as well as leave you with simultaneously, is that words have an unbelievable power. And I'm not just saying that, like I really am not. I don't know if you out there like I have heard the phrase that words are like spells. I used to sort of admittedly scoff at that and be like, man, they're words. How are they spells? They're not really doing anything. Oh boy, was I wrong. Oh boy. Oh boy. In this last year, y'all, I've learned a lot, and that was one of my big lessons. But this year, one of the many themes, one of which was letting go. The other one was this. And to be very careful with what I say, which is why if you watched one of my videos from like the beginning of the year, oh, well, firstly, you probably might not see me to begin with. And also, I said a lot I said a lot more ums-ers and a heck of a lot more buts, even than I cut out, by the way, for the blooper reels. The point is that I guess I'm almost giving you a warning, but a loving warning. Because, well, okay, movie reference again, so if you need to tune out because you didn't see Inception, this will spoil it for you, so tune out for like maybe a minute or two here. What happens in Inception, here's a spoiler, is essentially he sees this idea in his wife's head. Now, when he does this, he doesn't understand, similarly to honestly how most people go around using words and treating words without realizing the insane impact that they have. So he gives her this idea. It's to do with a train, and this train is leaving, it's this whole scenario. Point is, what basically happens is, very much like with words, the idea that he has planted in her head I don't know how to explain it. If you've ever seen a seed grow from a seed into a plant, what it basically does is like, here's the seed. It grows its roots like that. And then if there's a top part that goes up past the soil, it grows up like that. And just like that growing roots and then the tree or whatever, that idea of hers grew in her head until it was so big that she believed that instead of reality. Now, you might think that's kind of a strange example. So, if you're welcome, if you're back from the Inception thing, you didn't want to hear anything about that, welcome back. Hi again. So why I bring that up is because what I discovered, my huge aha moment, which I hope to pass on to you guys. I hope it comes through with the potency that it did for me, because it kind of shook me. I was like, oh my gosh, they really are that powerful. So let's take a really simple example. Let's take two different people who were raised in two different households over their life, right? And they meet later in life. One person was raised in a household where they were told positive things. They were affirmed most of their life, let's just say, for the sake of argument. And this other person, they weren't. They were fed, you're a bad boy or girl, you're a piece of crap, I don't want to put a bunch of things there, but lots of negative instead of the positive affirmations that person A or whatever is receiving. Person A, let's say their mantra, unintentional mantra, because their family was kind to them and they were brought up in love. Their mantra, as it were, is I am loved. That's great. That works out fantastic for that person, because that turns into this seed of love and they become more confident. They feel safe. These are things that build up goodness within us, I guess you could say. And person B, if you think about it, let's say because they're raised in a negative household, maybe their mantra is you're not good enough, you're a piece of garbage, all the unpleasant things you can think of. Just like the idea that the guy from Inception planted in his wife's head that grew into this huge thing that ultimately she wasn't able to escape from. And now don't be afraid. I mean, you don't need to be suddenly like, oh my gosh, I can't talk. You can talk. I'm just trying to bring awareness to the fact that what's really crazy about words is that quite literally every single word that we use has incredible power. And I don't want to give any bad examples simply because of what I just said. The human brain is just like this poor woman in Inception. It will take any word spoken to it at any time. And the blessing or not blessing, depending upon what you're hearing with the word, is that the more you repeat that word or phrase, the more you will believe it, the more you will be connected to it, the more it will be a part of you, kind of. So I want to caution you with how you use your words. Really seriously encourage you in this video to take care whenever, wherever you are, whomever you're talking to mind your word choice. Seriously, like I said, when I first came across all this like change your language type stuff, I was like, how effective could that really be? Like, how much difference could that really make? Oh my God, guys, it makes a huge difference. And I'm not just saying that. The minute that, look, let's use myself as an excellent example here, right? Y'all know, or at least a lot of you know, that my self-talk, I struggle with self-worth sometimes. At any rate, you know, some of my mantras might be like, you are good enough, or like, you are strong. And the more you repeat things like that, that's why affirmations are so big now and popular and important, because what people have learned is that the more that you repeat a word or phrase, the more ingrained it becomes into you. So I guess my warning as well as blessing is that you have great power with that. I don't know if you realize that. That means that as much as you can create for yourself or for any other human you're interacting with, either an excellent, awesome, cool, fun environment, a good one, or you can create a really, really dismal, bad, horrible one for somebody, you know, really just with the power of words. You know, I really don't want to mention any bad example. Like I can think of some, like, let's just say, I'll talk about it vaguely. Let's just say from the perspective of, say, online harassment. You know, I used to play other online games, let's say World of Warcraft, because that was one of the ones I was like inducted into the gaming world with. You know, people on there, because it's the internet, aren't very careful with their words. And there's a lot of trolls on, well, online in general, but also specifically in that game. And let's say that a more sensitive person than myself, or a less, maybe even spiritually or emotionally or whatever, mature person than me goes in there. Let's say a younger person, a younger teenager, and someone tells them to unalive themselves. For someone with a strong countenance, that might not matter as much because their mental environment, maybe, for lack of a better word, is really strong because, or really weak, depending upon what they've been fueling what words they've been fueling themselves in their life, and their parents have been fueling them, and their peers and all of that for their whole life. So if they already feel confident, they might be able to take that. If they don't feel confident, the more and more that they replay that person's words, honestly, weirdly, no matter who it was that said it, whether even this person was super important or not, though I will say, the more important the person is to you, the more it tends to have an impact. So really, what am I saying? I'm saying to be very careful with your words. You know, and I'm trying to think of a few that I can suggest just that you can automatically take out that will totally improve your life. And there are a few. I'm trying to think of them because now I've phased out a lot of them and I'm like, I don't say these, but is one of them. Why? The reason you don't say but if you can help it is and I don't mean your rear end, is because what happens with the word but is that whatever you say when you use the word but, let's say you say, I really love the way you throw your baton, but, right? Example. If you say, I really love your baton, but you look like a freaking elephant when you're throwing it, not a compliment. Whereas let's say you say, hey, I really love how you throw that baton. Like, I don't know, I can't think of something positive to attach that because it's a weird example, but like, let's say you're like, oh, you throw your baton so well, you look like a graceful figure skater when you do that. That's a positive for that person. That person then gains confidence. So do you see my point? You, whoever you are, a singular being watching this, you and everyone else also who may watch this, you have the power with a singular word to affect someone's life negatively and positively. And I really want to let that sink in. You, with the power of one single word, have the strong power to affect whoever, including yourself, that you're talking to for a long-lasting time. One word is sometimes all it takes. One word can be all it takes for someone to have a huge aha. Take me reading the 4 Agreements. With this whole thing that I'm sharing with you, this whole aha of, oh my goodness, it's not even like it goes above and beyond the self-esteem for yourself, like why you should talk positively and should tell yourself you love yourself and you're enough and you're good enough and all these things. You know, it goes so much bigger than that, because think about not that I want you to focus on that, but think about what happens if you're not careful with your words. You know, let's say you're somebody who said something really horrible to someone once. They may be replaying that over and over, and you're creating this like hell for them. So I would just say that realize that when you speak, you have an immense power at your fingertips. And in fact, even when you write words, understand that too. But particularly speaking them, they I don't know how to explain it because I don't know the real like science behind it. But I know that the more you like do things like affirm and positively give yourself confidence, that's good. That will help you. And the more you knock yourself down, honestly, you're just going to have a longer way to climb up. You'll eventually probably get there too. It's everybody's journey is different, and I can't speak to that. I want to pass on is this power that you have, because it's really our own responsibility to some extent to, and I'm not saying to go out there and suddenly stop doing things because you're like afraid of how it's going to affect someone. I just want you to become aware of this, because this power can be used for good and it can be used for evil. Just honestly, like any energy or anything in the world, you can use that tool for good or for bad. I encourage you to think about it more though. Think about the way you're using words. Become aware of the words you're using. Oh, and let's see, can I think of some of the other ones? But is a big one. Just is another one. Should is another one. That we'll do a whole other video on language. I just, on this video, wanted to say that be careful with your words, because they have immense power, even if you think that they don't. And even if you think that saying something one time isn't going to impact someone, I can promise you, as someone who has sometimes in her life had really mean things said to her, that sometimes, whether you meant to have that thing stick or not, sometimes that thought may stick in that person's mind and that may not go away ever. And that's a big deal. That is a responsibility in a way. Like, you know, we have, because we hold the power to create a positive environment or a negative environment for someone, I think we have the responsibility of wielding that power cautiously. Sorry, I'm just looking at my notes. Wanted to make sure I cover it all at the end. What I had written was, for my title, words or spells we can curse or we can bless each other. And I want you to really take that to heart. It's something that Don Miguel Ruiz talks about in the 4 Agreements, is these power of words and how literally we are cursing or blessing each other with them every day, all of the time. And then, yeah, my other note was just use your language for good or joy or love, because you have the power to create that thing. And I promise you, the more you talk in love and positivity, it's not just this fruity hippie thing that we do, which is why there's so many funny videos about like super spiritual people being like very woo-woo and happy and spiritual fights and all this comedic genius, really. And yeah, okay, and I gave you guys the example from Inception. So I just wanted to convey that, to understand that words are not just simple words. They are vehicles with power that can become a whole world for someone. So choose the words that you use with people so wisely. And the more aware you can become of the words that you're saying, the better you'll do. And so yeah, if I were you and I had a selection of 3 words to just start with to eliminate from your vocabulary, which as crazy it might seem will already improve your life, it's should. Don't say should anymore. Don't say just. And don't say can't. That's a big one too. Can't, just, and should, as well as but, big but. Though, I never finished my thought. To wrap that back up, the thing with but is anything that you say before a but in a sentence is a cancellation. So you might as well not say the words but to anybody unless you're talking about the anatomical bum, because it literally just can't. So per the example I said before, like, oh wow, you know, throw your baton so well. If you tell that person they throw their baton so well that they look like an elephant, they're not going to be super stoked with you. So understand that you have the power to create a whole environment. So that is what I wanted to share in this video, is that when you're out there in the world, be careful with what words you're choosing, because those words knowingly or unknowingly are affecting other people. And most importantly though, is how they're affecting you. So become aware of your language, become aware if you need to remove some of these words, and see what a beautiful effect your life will have. You know, it really is true. The more we speak the reality we want to see, in the sense of even you just treat people the way, literally the golden rule, the way you want to be treated, it's unbelievable how beautiful the return effect is. I must say, and I have said this before, and it's not to boast, it's just because I was someone who for most of my life was like a loner. I really didn't have hardly any friends for the majority of my life. Like, there were periods where maybe I had 1 or 2 friends for a little bit, but inevitably those people came and went for the most part. And like I said, for the most part, I was a loner. And so I've learned these lessons a lot the hard way. And I really hope that passing them on helps you guys, because we have the power to be really connected, really powerful people in each other's lives, to really lift up and support each other. So why don't we turn this whole language thing that we were taught and not taught the potency of what we were doing, and take back the control of our lives and create beautiful things on earth instead of the kind of things we see out there, which is very, very harsh, largely out there in the world with things that are going on worldwide, you know. I really urge you to take on board and to become aware of the words you're saying, and to take out some of the ones I suggested, because it has unbelievably powerful results, even just to do that, honestly. And perhaps in a future video, if you guys want me to, I can go into, I think there's more like a dozen words that I was given from my mentor that also helped, that I took out. I would have to literally consult the list, because some of them I have actually removed and I can't even think of them in the moment because they're out of my vocabulary. So if you've enjoyed the video, or you know anyone who this would help, please do share it with them, because honestly, like this, when I come here with videos like this, I'm not kidding. These are life lessons distilled down from my almost 40 years of life. And I really am sharing them because I want to save you guys trouble, tears, time, all sorts of things. If you need coaching or you want to reach out to me confidentially, you can do so at the usual email address here. It's also down in the description. And I wish you a blessed and beautiful rest of your year. Thank you so much for tuning in with me. And remember that you have power with each and every word to create your most amazing fantasy with the words that you say to yourself and to others, or you can create a hell on earth with the words and things that you say to yourself and to others. And it is your choice what you go forward with. So with that, thank you for being with me for this long. Namaste, much love, and have a beautiful rest of your week. Take care. Bye. Human brain, but like the human the human brain in general is gonna, I mean, it tends to happen through the subconscious, but responsibility.